Hello again, Mr. RG Stuff here. Now today I've got some various different sorts of gasket material that I'm just going to go through and talk about a bit. Now some of these things I've already had for a while, like this stuff here, which is just the sort of normal white rubber stuff, which is sold for gaskets on gramophone soundboxes. Just stick it under this camera here so you can probably see it's just white tubing. It's made of latex, I believe, and it's about 3.2 millimeters in diameter, and it's quite squishy. And I've also got some of this stuff here, which is the foam. This is neoprene. This is about 3 millimeters in diameter, and this is quite squishy too, and I've used quite a bit of this. So I'm just going to work over the various different sorts and just talk about them. So I think we'll start with this one here. Now this stuff is actually I'm pretty sure it's the same as this white stuff. So if I just move it over to my other camera, so you can see they're very similar, and they feel just the same. And this red stuff here was actually bought quite cheaply actually, and it was sold for catapults or slingshots, and it's quite stretchy. And other than the colour, I think that would be quite a good substitute for this white stuff. So this white stuff I'm probably going to keep for a decent sound box. This red stuff might get used for some experimentation. So anyway, that's that one there. That's 5 meters of that. That was, as I say, quite good value. It's just a shame that I couldn't get it in white. If I'd gone to China, I could have got it in a sort of natural latex colour, which is sort of much more. I don't have a piece to hand, but it's much more that sort of a browny colour there. Just stick it under that one there. Much more that sort of colour. Right, so moving down the line, this stuff here sounded quite promising, and this is actually supposedly foamed 3 millimeter plastic like this stuff, only I've discovered that this stuff is neoprene and is actually quite squishy. This stuff is silicone, and it squishes a bit, but it's a lot harder. So I had hoped that this stuff was going to be a cheap substitute for this stuff, but it doesn't look like it is. I mean, it's just like nothing like a squidgy. Yeah, and it was a lot more expensive than the black stuff as well, so this black neoprene stuff is definitely superior. Now moving on, let's move to this black stuff here. This is also 3 millimeter tubing. This is actually very similar to the white stuff. I think the white stuff is 3.2 millimeters. This black stuff is 3 millimeters. This is well, actually, I don't know what this black stuff's made out of. It was just described as synthetic. I'm guessing it's probably silicone. It's not as squidgy, it's not as soft as the white stuff, so not as suitable. I mean, it might be useful, but even compared to the let's find it, the black neoprene, it's not as good as that. So yeah, not as good as I'd hoped. Next one along is this stuff here. Now this is 2mm synthetic tubing. I don't know what this is made out of, but again I think it's probably silicone. This is actually quite flexible. It feels reasonably okay, or reasonably good. However, it's considerably smaller in diameter. I mean, obviously that's 3.2mm. This is 2mm. I don't think it's going to be big enough for gasket material, to be honest. But with such thin walls, it does actually compress quite well. So yeah, that may prove to be useful. Moving down the line, let's move to this stuff here. This is 2.5mm. Let's just double check what this is. Right, this is clear silicon tube. It is 2.5mm external diameter, 1.5mm internal diameter. It's quite soft actually. I quite like the feel of this stuff. It's a little bit smaller. I mean, that's it compared against the 3.2. That's the sort of cheap neoprene there. I don't know if that's showing up on camera. So they're sort of like so in terms of sizes. I think it's probably going to be a little bit thin for most sound boxes, so maybe not. But yeah, it's got a good feel to it. So out of this sort of synthetic ones, it's certainly one of the better ones. It's also one of the more expensive ones actually. And then the last one is this one here, which is this is 3mm by 1.5mm. Also 3mm external, 1.5mm internal, and again it's clear silicon tubing. It squeezes reasonably well actually. It definitely feels better than this this stuff over here, this stuff that was just sold as craft. It's definitely got more of a sort of rubbery feel to it. It's quite a lot more expensive actually. This is just craft material. This is, I think, is food grade material. But yeah, it's not as good as this in terms of feel. I mean, it's definitely a bit stiffer than this white stuff. Cost wise, it's still nothing like as competitive as the sort of black neoprene, which is still certainly no harder and probably a little bit softer. So anyway, so those were the various materials that I purchased. Sort of getting all over the place. There's no doubt about it, some of the thinner materials do actually work quite well in terms of the sort of softness, but I don't think they're going to work too well actually in the sound box. Probably the most interesting stuff is this red stuff here, the stuff that was sold for sort of slingshot or a catapult, because it is, as far as I can see, to all intents and purposes other than the colour, the same as this white stuff. And as the white stuff is sold for sound boxes and is quite expensive, and this red stuff is a lot cheaper, I think I can make a lot of use of this. And probably the most disappointing was this white stuff here, because I really hoped it was going to be the same as this black stuff here. But as I say, this is neoprene, this is silicone, and the silicone's much harder. So I'm not sure that's suitable for sound boxes at all. So anyway, that's what happens when you hunt around on eBay and see what sorts of thin rubber tubing or thin rubber like tubing are available. Not as conclusive as I would have liked. I really hoped I was going to find this white this white stuff here under a different name or a different supplier, and find that it was much cheaper if you bought it from a different sort of supplier rather than buying it specifically for use with gramophone soundboxes, but no such luck. However, the red stuff, for many of my experiments and sort of all my homemade soundboxes, I think is a perfectly adequate substitute. And as I say, if I wanted the sort of natural colour type, that's even cheaper. I just have to wait to get it from China. Okay, well, next will be to actually try some of this in a soundbox. The soundbox that I will probably use is this one here, which I have showed in a previous video. It's got a plastic diaphragm in there at the minute, and it's got some of this black neoprene grommet material in there, or gasket material in there at the minute, on the lower side. I had hoped to find something a bit thinner for the upper side. I mean, I might use some of this 2.5mm stuff here. We'll give it a go. If not, it'll be one of the other types, and we'll see what that sounds like, but that will be in another video. Okay, well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and if you have enjoyed this video, then please subscribe to Mr. Archie Stuff if you haven't already, and see you in the next video. Bye for now.